Okay. Good afternoon. We're calling this meeting back into order. We have returned from a lunch recess. And Mr. Clerk, may we please have a roll call?
State Attorney Gerald. Here. Public Defender Howard. Commissioner Headley.
Here.
Commissioner Cridell. Present. Commissioner Lofredo.
Present.
Commissioner Priori.
Here.
Commissioner Smith Gordon.
Here.
And Inspector General Steckler.
Here.
I believe we do have an IMBOC committee. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Sure. Stephen Dingbaum.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dingbaum, for presenting your application and traveling here to West Palm Beach. Your request to become Palm Beach County's Inspector General. Our procedure for today, I suppose, is you have been given some guidelines, but we're going to allow you just 2 minutes to give us some information about yourself and why you're applying to this position and the relationship between your experience, credentials, job duties that you're prepared to perform as Inspector General, and if you would describe that in terms of your leadership style.
Certainly. I guess my reason for applying for the Inspector General position is that I think I can make a difference. I have been in the IG community for about 38 years now, so I have a number of different experiences in all aspects of the IG work, either in audit, investigations, inspections, the administrative side. This all comes together to form the background that I have that I bring to this job. Now, the reason for applying is that to make a difference, the IG should be part of the solution. It shouldn't be part of the problem. And the IG as part of the solution helps for good governance. And good governance is, I think, what this whole commission is all about. How do we govern the Palm Beach County effectively and efficiently? And that's where the IG can come in and make a big difference. In many aspects, the IG is like a quality assurance function. You have your policies and procedures and all these types of things. The IG can come in. Are these policies and procedures effective, or do they work? Are they being implemented as designed? Do we need to change them? These are things that an IG can do. And I bring the background of about 38 years, as I say, to this position. I have seen what works, what doesn't work in the federal community, and much of that would apply right here in Palm Beach County. My credentials, I have a CPA, passed the CPA exam the first time I sat for it. I'm also licensed in Virginia as a certified public accountant. I'm certified in financial forensics, as well as a certified fraud examiner. I'm a member of the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the Association of Fraud Examiners. I keep my certificates current with about 50 hours of work every year. So basically all what I'm saying is I have the experience and the background to do this job.
Thank you for introducing yourself. The members of the committee here have some questions to ask of you. We're going to start to my left, your right, with our public defender, Attorney Kerry Howard.
Get these switches. What do you believe is the most important skill or attribute that an IG must have, and describe how your past experience has enabled you to develop this skill or attribute?
The most important skill or attribute would be to have a very strong ethical and moral viewpoint from where you're leading the IG. The commission absolutely sets the tone at the top, but within the IG, the Inspector General has to set the same tone for the people that work for the Inspector General. And from there, looking down, if you can set a proper tone, the staff will do what they can to support you and to do the best job they can. Now, the other aspect of this is you want the public involved. You want the public to feel that the Inspector General is there to assist them and to help them. And on the current Inspector General's page, I see things like a hotline and this. Well, these are all good points to bring in the public into it. The IG has to be part of the solution for good governance, and that's what you really want to get at.
And before this interview, you probably have done some research about the IG's office here. What key challenges will the next Inspector General face, and what courses of action do you expect to take to address those challenges?
One of the things that kind of struck me as I was looking at this is I think the current Inspector General, Gerald, had set up an office, and I think it functioned very well, but I think there was still, unless I'm misreading it, there's still some opposition to that. So I think one of the things that's going to have to happen is the Inspector General and the Inspector General's office is going to have to get out there and show that they are part of the county, that they are part of the solution. And that's, I think, going to be one of the big challenges going in there, is how do we get everybody working together from sort of singing from the same sheet of music? That'd be what I gathered in.
And how do you do that?
A lot of it's going to be outreach. You're going to have to do outreach. I know Cheryl has done a lot of that. It's going to be outreach. It's going to have to be talking with the different municipalities and explaining what you can do for them, how you can help them. It's building the coalitions, actually. It's going forward, and what can we do, not I as the Inspector General, but what can we do to make this a better place for everybody?
Good, thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Dingbaum. Questions about the independence of the IG. Can you tell us how you would maintain the independence while still having your office be successful?
Well, you have to have independence, or you can't work. I mean, that's just a basic part of the Inspector General regime. Okay, how do you maintain that? Well, you have to maintain it both in fact and in appearance. So, in fact, you don't want to get into any situation where the people working on a particular audit or investigation or whatever they're working on, that they have a personal gain that can be gotten from that. And it's not only in fact, but it's also in appearance. If you have a close friend or a relative that's working in a particular area, you probably don't want to have that particular auditor or investigator working on that specific area. So it's basically due diligence. It's just making sure that you are organizationally independent, that you're personally independent, and that you in both fact and appearance.
Great, thank you. And how do you separate friendships with those under your jurisdiction? And can you talk about your working relationship with the State Attorney's Office?
Well, to separate friendship from the people that you're working with, I mean, generally speaking, in my experience,
not from the people working with the jurisdiction.
The jurisdiction,
yeah.
the people you're...
Those under your jurisdiction, meaning, yeah, like the cities.
Generally, my experience has been that you really don't form close friendships with people under your jurisdiction in general. You want to maintain that independence. If you have a friend that's, say, head of a particular, you develop a friendship with someone that's head of a department or something, you can recuse yourself. That'd be the best way, but I think usually you don't, it's not something you're going to go out and try to develop friendships with people under your jurisdiction. The second part of your question was, how do you develop a relationship with the State Attorney's Office? Is that correct?
Yes. Can you describe your relationship from the IG's office with the State Attorney's Office?
Well, you'd have to work collaboratively together. The State Attorney's Office is going, if you have an investigation that shows a crime, the State Attorney's Office, I assume, is going to be the one that's going to be prosecuting it. So the investigators have to work with the state attorney to develop a viable case that can be prosecuted. I guess that's...
Right. And that's fine. Just, you said, there's something you said earlier. I'll do it on the follow-up. I'll get back to you on that.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Dingbaum, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to know something about what you consider to be your management style and what your philosophies are about running a department.
Okay. Management style philosophy. My management style is collaborative. I think everybody should work together. As the Inspector General, I'd expect to be the leader, but I wouldn't expect to do everything myself. I'd expect, for example, the head of investigations to take the lead in that. I might set the high general parameters, the policy level, but I would expect the head of investigations or the head of audits or the head of contracts to implement that. So it's a collaborative type thing. And it's not only just setting the policies up there. It's what can we do together as a whole that the three, I think this IG has 3 divisions, 3 operating divisions. How can we, the 3 of us, 3 divisions work together? The sum of the parts being more than each individual part by itself.
Okay, and my follow-up on that is, as you just said, how can we? But I'd like to know what your ideas would be as to staying on top of issues if you're collaborating so that you can reach your goals and also be able to do them in a timely fashion and be able to accomplish your goals so that you can make your reports.
Mr. Clerk, I'm sorry, Commissioner Priori, is that a follow-up question for later, or is that one of the?
No, it's part of the way I'm reading it. It says staying on top of the multiple programs and ensuring that goals and deadlines are met. And that's what my question is.
Okay. That part of it I find relatively easy, even what I'm doing now. I've got 3 or 4 divisions that work under me right now, and they work together, plus they have to work with investigations. To do that, basically, is communications. I have a weekly activity report that everybody prepares, so I know what each team's doing. I got weekly staff meetings with team leaders and all this type of thing, so I know where they're at on each of their jobs. I have a weekly meeting with my counterparts ahead of investigations where I'm at now. So that part is really communications. And as long as you have an ongoing process, that works very smoothly. I see no issue with that at all, at least where I'm at now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're a CPA and I'm a CPA. Mm-hmm. We kind of know that money drives a lot of operations. And so if you've read anything about funding in this particular agency, you know that, well, there's some funding issues.
Right.
With that knowledge, how would you plan on addressing that particular issue?
Those are always complex problems. The funding issues, as I understand it, is part of the money is coming from municipalities and from the county itself, but some of the issue is that some of the other municipalities have filed a lawsuit and are not paying at this point in time. I think that's as I understand it.
Keep going.
Anyway, I could be way off base, but that's my understanding of it. You only have so much funding available, so whatever the funding is, you have to work within that. So that piece of it's pretty much straightforward. The other piece of it is how do you get the additional funding that isn't there? And again, that gets back to working with people, collaboration, outreach, basically convincing if it's the other municipalities that you need the money and that money coming in can help them in some way.
Now that we've had a left brain discussion, let's have a right brain discussion. Let's talk about the media. Mm-hmm. How much experience do you have dealing with the media? Yeah.
In my current position, probably 3 or 4 times a year, I'll end up being in the media spotlight one way or another. Generally, I get a phone call from a reporter from, say, the Wall Street Journal or some other publication, and they want to know some specifics. So from that perspective, I have experience, and generally the way I handle that is I'll tell them anything they want to know which is within the covers of that report. I'd never go outside the covers of what's a published report. So that's kind of where we're at with that particular thing right now.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. Basically, part of what you've told me is you don't, there's certain things you're not at liberty to discuss.
Absolutely.
Okay. Related to that question is this. Yes, this not follow-up question, it's the second part. There are goals or outcomes that you'd have for any particular activity, and one of them is the media. What outcome for this agency would you want to see as a result of you managing the media?
I think the outcome I would be looking forward for is trying to show that that the IG is doing things that is improving the governance of the county itself. You know, that the IG is part of the solution to good governance. And I think that's what the whole IG concept is built on, is good governance. So what you want to do is get that across. You don't want to play the I got you game, you know, I'm out to get you. It's right. Here's where we're going forward. Here's how we're supporting where the county's going. Here's what we're doing for the county and for the citizens of this county.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, when you have had a difficult exchange with the public, what steps did you take and what personal skill sets did you draw upon to resolve that situation?
You know, each one of those is very different, so each time you have to do something different. One of the main ones is don't get excited. Just sit back, listen, try to understand where they're coming from. Many times what they're coming from is not necessarily rational, but it's emotional. So when you understand where they're coming from, then you can start addressing what they're saying. In my current position, nuclear materials is a very emotional issue with some people. And they'll say, you know, we got to get rid of all nuclear power plants or whatever the case might be. You really can't do that. They produce about 20% of electricity for the United States. You can't really do that. But you got to be able to sit there and have move it to a rational discussion. So I guess what I'm saying is you have to be calm, you have to understand where they are at and address their concerns as best you can. And in the long run, sometimes you have to say, well, I'll get back to you on that. I don't have the information you need. You know, sometimes that's the best you can do.
Thank you. What experience do you have with working with multiple entities? And include some examples of what strategies you employed for successful interactions.
Okay, right now, in the current position I have, we're the Inspector General for two agencies, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the Defense Nuclear Facility Safety Board. So we deal on a routine basis with the two agencies. But on top of that, when you're talking about nuclear materials, there are a plethora of other agencies that are very interested in what you do. You got something called the Organization of Agreement States that each state sends a representative to, and they deal with the nuclear materials, for example, medical devices. And we deal with those. You got the Nuclear Energy Institute. So there's a plethora of these different entities out there. To deal with these, keeping open lines of communication, I have different divisions which deal with specific issues in each of these. For example, my nuclear materials division deals primarily with the Organization of Agreement States. The Organization of Agreement States. I have a nuclear materials. I have a reactor oversight branch that deals primarily with Nuclear Energy Institute. But I'm always there to assist and to take the lead if there's a briefing that needs to be given, or if there needs to be some public outreach in these areas. I'm always there to do it. And many of these things are not a day-to-day thing. Many times it's maybe once every 2 or 3 months you have to do something, but you still need to engage and be engaged with them continuously. If you get an email, respond to it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have 41 jurisdictions in Palm Beach County. How would you conduct a risk assessment covering all 41 jurisdictions?
Well, I think you're going to have to come up with some criteria right off the top. One of the easiest ones to look at are such things as dollars. The higher the dollars, the more risk that's involved. Prior audit experience or prior investigative experience. If a particular organization has a history of problems, you probably want to spend more time there. Newness of an organization. If everybody has left an organization and you got all new people, why'd they all leave? What's happening? So basically, to do the risk analysis, what you're going to want to do is figure out what your criteria is going to be. What are the touch points that you're going to have out there that are critical factors? And then do a systemic risk analysis across it. And you can do this in different ways. You can do surveys. You can send OIG personnel out there to do it. The methodology it can be done many different ways. But you got to figure out what is it that's critical risk.
Okay. If you're going to do an annual audit plan, what would your focus be on?
It gets back to doing a risk analysis. There are certain items that I assume are going to be mandated either by the commission or by law and will have to be done. At least that's my experience. Then you start looking at what's the highest risk, and then also one of the things I would want to do is, okay, you're the commission. What is this of particular interest to you? There are going to be some times where an IG can go out and maybe you see a problem that has not been seen by anybody else. So you want to say, maybe we should combine these couple of organizations. The IG is an organization that can come out and do an analysis rather than hiring a management consulting company. An IG can do that. They have the skill, the people, the ability to do that. So you'd want to pull in what the commission wants. Well, who are your major stakeholders? Pull them into it and determine what are the highest payback. You don't want to do an audit or an investigation that costs you more to do than what your payback's going to be on it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, good afternoon. I
Good
have
afternoon.
3 short questions. Unique to this Office of Inspector General is a contract oversight unit which monitors procurement activity from pre-award through post-award. Mm-hmm. How would you allocate OIG staff and/or resources towards procurement activities?
Okay. At one point, I was head of contract audits, and basically that's what that did. It looked at from pre-award, post-award to contract closeout. To allocate staff, which was what your question amounted to, was what are the dollars, what are the numbers, what is the payback for doing these? Certain contracts you can do very little with. If it's a firm fixed price contract to buy a desk, for example, and it's been let out on bid, there's very little you can do about that. Where you end up getting the most payback is usually time and labor type contracts. And then you start looking at things like, are they charging the right number of hours? Do they have a system in place to capture the hours and the labor and this type of thing?
Okay. Second question, how would you approach community outreach in order to ensure that the public is aware and involved in the work of the IG?
There would be, I think there would be several things that you could do. Like commission meetings, be a factor, be a presence, and I shouldn't say factor, be a presence at things like commission meetings. There should be, I'm assuming there are town hall meetings, there are different meetings that take place in, I think you said 41 different municipalities. To the degree possible, go out and see if you can engage at these different public meetings. There are probably some other events that I'm not aware of that take place, but you want to engage where the public is at. Perhaps there are some other methods, but that's what comes to mind right off the top of my head.
Finally, how will you, excuse me, how will you hold yourself accountable to the citizens of Palm Beach County?
How would I?
How will you hold yourself accountable?
Yeah. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to be transparent in whatever you do. So, looking at the web page that the IG has out there, I think that's a great start to a lot of this. I know that there was a public meeting that took place that where the Inspector General talked about what they did in the last 6 months. And the more transparent you can be and show the value that you're adding, the better you're going to be. You want the county and the citizens of the county to know what you're doing, and if they have an idea, come tell me about it. What can we do to do this better? And even even on the webpage, you got the hotline. You got, I think there are 6 or 8 buttons down there at the bottom of your webpage. That's all great things to do. It's getting the public involved in what an IG's office is all about.
Thank you.
This concludes the formal interview portion. Our committee members may now have an opportunity to ask you some questions, and we're going to start with Commissioner Kerry Howard.
It seems we applicants for this position seem to have either strengths in investigations or strengths in auditing. And tell me, if you would, what do you think is the importance of either of those strengths, and how would you balance them?
Well, they're both important, no doubt about that. Investigations typically are reactive. Something happens and you investigate it. Audits tend to be more proactive. You look at a program, how can we improve it? Typically, as you're looking at this, you don't want to catch people after they've done something. You want to prevent it up front. So as a balancing, typically, at least in the federal community, audits are usually a bigger portion of an IG than what investigations are. So you're basically gets back to the quality assurance function of an IG is, are the programs in place? Are they working? Are they working as intended? Can we improve them? So that's kind of where it is. But you have to have the policeman, so to speak, as well. So.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dingbaum, you would relocate here if you got the job?
Yes.
Great, thank you. I see you have a lot of jobs as a deputy and assistant. Have you ever been the CEO of anything, like the top dog?
No.
This would be your first?
Yes.
Okay. And have you had people who worked under you that you supervised directly?
Yes. I have, right now I got 36 people, and we'll have 5 interns this summer. My prior job, I think I had 63 people that reported to me.
Great. And then last question. You said something during the formal questioning that if there was a conflict, like if there was a friend that was under you and you needed to audit or investigate, you would conflict out. If you conflicted out, who then would get the audit or investigation?
Are you talking about me personally having a friend, or
Right. I'm not as concerned about someone in the office. You had also said that if there was someone in the office who had a relationship, that person would be walled off. I understand that. But I thought you had said that if you had some issue, the office would be conflicted out. I just want to figure out then where it goes.
Not the office per se. I would recuse myself. So if it's on investigation side, the head of investigations would basically run that entire investigation, and without anything oversight from me. I mean, I'd have to recuse myself. I can't I have to maintain my independence. Yeah.
Mr. Dingbaum, thank you. The IG itself requires credentialing. Mm-hmm. How are you prepared to deal with the Joint Commission on Accreditation, peer review? Would you tell us a little bit about how you feel you could handle that investigation?
Sure. In my present position, actually, since mid-'80s, all the audit organizations in the federal community have had to go through peer reviews. I've been through, I'm guessing probably 10 different ones, and I have contacted at least an equal number of them. Now, this is on the audit side of the house. On the investigative side, they are also doing peer reviews in the federal community. And although I have not been involved directly, through my counterpart, I have been advised of what is happening in those. A peer review, if you're doing things properly, is no big deal. But I think there's pros and cons to it both ways. I think the good part of it is when you conduct one, you learn what other organizations are doing, and you learn from that. And when somebody else comes in and reviews you, there are the formal things. Like on the audit side, you have specific standards that you have to meet. Well, that's usually not an issue. You usually can meet those. But they sometimes give you also ideas, hey, maybe you can improve your process this way, that way, or another way, which are maybe off the books and off the table. But it's an important thing to have.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Kind of a right brain question again.
Okay.
We've been very fortunate in this county to have General Steckler as our first Inspector General. She's accomplished some pretty remarkable things, in my opinion, in a remarkably short period of time also. So it's a tough act to follow. What one characteristic of yours do you think would be the determinant that you're the guy to follow?
I think it'd be my ability to think strategically. Where is it that we should be in 2 to 3 years? Not only as an IG, but as a county. Where does the county want to be 2 to 3 years from now? What can the IG do to assist in getting there? Are these two things in harmony? If they're in harmony, then we can determine where we should go and what we should do to get there. So you talked about contract oversight, for example. Is that an issue, a big issue in the county? If it is, and that's where we want to spend our resources, and that's how we go forward. So it's the ability to think strategically, take that strategic thinking and apply it to the day-to-day work of an organization and to structure that organization appropriately to accomplish that work.
Okay. Thank you.
If we were to interview your professional peers and any elected officials with whom you may have had a professional relationship with, what would they say about you?
I would expect them to say something along the lines that he is a highly effective manager, he's a good leader, he's above reproach as far as ethics go, as far as independence. I would expect them to say something along the lines that he would be the right person to lead an organization like an Inspector General's office.
All right. Have you had much experience in dealing with the elected officials?
I've testified before Congress a couple of times. Does that count?
No. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The current Congress?
Just asking you to go a little farther. You talked about community outreach, and you'd go to all these meetings, the commission meetings and the town hall meetings and wherever the public is and all that. What would you do at these meetings? What would you tell them? Would you talk? I mean,
one of the things you're going to want to do is, as you go out to these various meetings, is, here I am, I'm the Inspector General. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what you can do, we can do together to make Palm Beach County a better county to live in. It's not just saying, I can do audits or I can do investigations. And it kind of gets back to what Commissioner Kreidel was saying. Is where do we want to be in the future, and how can the IG get you there? That's really what it gets back to. So it's, what specifically, I'm not sure at this point. I'm not that familiar with Palm Beach County.
no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As you know, the Office of Inspector General is relatively new to Palm Beach County, and there's been a lot of discussion. In your formal interview, you mentioned that at times the public may take less than the appropriate rational response to particular issues. How would you go about, what should I say, transforming that kind of non-rational approach to, say, a rational, informed approach where people would be inclined to affirm the presence of a OIG, Office of Inspector General?
Sure. This is going to be a long-term project, because there are going to be people who will never want to see an IG. Basically, they think it's just somebody looking over their shoulder continuously. So what you're going to have to do is, over time and continuously reinforcing the message through any way that you can, be it town hall meetings, be it through the website, be it at commission meetings, through the media, however you do it, you're going to have to show what the IG is doing and how it's helping good governance in the county.
Thank you.
At this time, you have an opportunity to ask us questions if you have any.
Okay. If you, knowing where the Inspector General's office is today, what changes would you want to make in it?
Well, I think that for the new Inspector General, one of the first things that person has to do is come in and determine where things were being left, so that you know the priority of things that are going on. You need to be able to introduce yourself to those people who are in government and those people who are in this community, so that you can establish a rapport. That is probably one of the first things you have to do.
Right.
But in terms of your priority, I think it is for the citizens to know that there is a value to this office for which they voted on, and for them to understand what that value is in a language that they can understand.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you. That's
Any other comments?
The only item that I would add is that you're aware there are 41 jurisdictions. I think it's incumbent, as the previous, not previous, she's still with us, our incumbent Attorney General, Inspector General has done, is to reach out to each one of those entities and explain what your goals are, what you want to be able to do. Because I find communication is the quickest way to form allegiances.
I agree.
The comments from the dais. Okay. Mr. Dingbaum, you have an opportunity to prepare present to us your closing remarks as to why you're suitable for this job.
Okay, I think I'm be a good candidate for this job for 3 reasons. First of all, I have about 38 years of experience in OIG operations, in all aspects of it, in audits, investigations, in contract oversight, in the administrative part of it. I supervise, I can say right now, about 36 people. I have a lot of experience in change management and in program re-engineering. When I came into my present job, my predecessor was a little bit, well, let me put it this way, there was a lot of low morale. Audits were not getting done very well. So I was able to come in, re-engineer that, and now we're getting audits out on a routine basis, and they're high impact. Some of them end up before Congress. So I think we've done well in that aspect. And then I have the education and certification to back all this up. I got a degree in accounting from the University of Northern Iowa. I'm a certified public accountant, certified fraud examiner, et cetera, et cetera. And all this combined is also evidenced by my by the outstanding performance appraisals I've gotten for the last 30-odd years, the continuous career advancements I've had all along the way, and by the 2 presidential meritorious awards I've gotten. So I mean, it's not just me saying it; there's evidence behind what I'm saying. So for those reasons, I think I'd be a great candidate. I'd make a great IG, and I can help the county in where they want to go.
Thank you so very much for coming and submitting your application as a candidate for Palm Beach County's Inspector General. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day. Likewise.
Thank you. We have some members who are in the audience. In case you were not here earlier when I made the announcement, hello to everyone. Thank you for coming. We do have comment cards, and I see that someone has already found them. But for everybody's edification, you do have comment cards. Please fill them out. If you choose to speak, you will have an opportunity to speak before us at the end of the meeting. I do believe that we only have two more people left. All right? And while I'm saying hello to everyone, I'd like to acknowledge 2 people who I do recognize. One is our former Executive Director of the Commission on Ethics, who's Al Johnson. Hello. And I especially want to recognize County Commissioner Jesse Santa Maria. Thank you for being here. Ms. Sean, we're ready.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your full name?
My name is Gerald Paul Montoya.
Welcome to Palm Beach County. And pronounce that last name again.
Montoya.
Montoya. Okay. Thank you for submitting your name and application to Palm Beach County for the position of Inspector General. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and give us reasons why you are interested in this position.
Yes, I have been spent the last 4 years in Iraq, and I was looking to come back to the U.S. To continue my career more on the domestic side. I spent a lot of time overseas, and so I thought it was time to come back to the U.S., do some work in the IG world. I've been in the IG world probably for well over 30 years. So I thought this was a very unique situation to another IG, type of IG at the local state government, which I think would be extremely interesting and challenging. Throughout my career, I've always looked for challenges, and I thought this would be a great way to continue my career. And that's it for my opening statement.
Thank you, sir. We have some questions from members of this committee to you. We're going to start with, we'll start back with our Public Defender, Commissioner Kerry Howard.
Good afternoon.
Tested. There we go. What do you believe to be the most important attribute or skill that an IG must have, and describe how your past experience has enabled you to develop that attribute or skill?
Well, I think one of the most important attributes that you need to have for an IG is to add credibility to the position of the IG, and also to provide transparency to government for the public. And I think over my career, that's been the number one goal of mine, and it's always been something that I've been able to achieve. Back, for example, in 2004, I volunteered for my first tour in Iraq, and one of the things that we did was the U.S. government was going to spend, at that time, $18.4 billion in the reconstruction of Iraq. As a result of that, Congress decided that they would go ahead and create an Inspector General to oversee all the funds in Iraq. I was one of the original charter members. I served as a deputy IG under that Coalition Provisional Authority. So it's a very high visibility position, a very high visibility funds that were being spent overseas. And so from that standpoint, we were very careful to ensure that we were very transparent and also provide the public with the idea that everything is being overseen, and we're providing the public feedback on where their funds are being spent overseas. And from that standpoint, I think we achieved our goal. So I've had experience doing that at that level. And then also, the Coalition Provisional Authority also became what became the special IG for Iraq Reconstruction, and we continued that for a while, providing that oversight to the public and through the form of audits and investigations in a very difficult environment.
Based on what you may have learned about our IG office, what key challenges do you believe that the next Inspector General will face, and what courses of action do you expect to take to address those challenges?
Well, from what I understand, the IG office here is faced with probably three things. Number one, the budget issue. Number two, you're also going to have staffing issues that you have to worry about, whether you've got enough staff to do the work you're going to do. And also, you're going to have, the other challenge you're going to have is acceptance from the entities that you're auditing and investigating. I think, as you know, from just an outside observer, it seems like the citizens of Palm Beach have accepted the idea of an IG. It's just the government entities don't seem to have come along with the program. And so I think if I were a government manager in one of these entities, I would welcome actually an IG to come in and see how well I'm operating so that I can be a better steward of the taxpayers' funds. It's not, it's an education thing for a lot of these government entities. They need to understand that this is there not only to improve the way they do their business, but also to provide transparency to the public.
Thank you.
Mr. Montoya, thank you for being here today. And my question is about the independence of the Inspector General. Can you talk about how you would maintain your independence?
Well, independence is, is one of the most important things about being an IG. That's why IGs, that's the backbone of an IG is to be independent. But internally within the IG, you should have a strong ethics training within the IG, your IG office itself. You should also ensure, for example, if you're going to do an audit, at the commencement of every audit, every person that's going to be a part of that engagement needs to sign a signed statement stating that they have no impediments before they even begin the project. The same should probably go for investigations. In the event there is a conflict or something like that, or something where there could possibly be an appearance of a conflict, those that are involved should either recuse themselves or be removed from the project.
Thank you. And how do you separate friendships with those under your jurisdiction? And can you also address what kind of working relationship you'd have with the State Attorney's Office?
Okay, friendships with
those under your jurisdiction.
Under my jurisdictions. Well, I think you need to maintain a professional relationship with the jurisdictions. You need to have buy-in on your program, but I don't. I think it's important because that they understand what you do and that you have a good understanding of what they do as well. But it's important to maintain a good relationship, but it should be maintained in a professional manner, not a become in any way appearance that you compromise your independence or anything like that. The other question?
Your working relationship with the State Attorney's Office.
Well, that should be a very important relationship you should maintain, particularly for your investigative side of the house, that you should maintain good relationships with the State Attorney's Office and keep them well informed of your investigations along the way, as far as they can help make sure that your investigations are going to be handled properly, that type of thing. That you should maintain a very good, close relationship with them.
Mr. Montoya, how would you describe to me your management style and philosophy in work?
Okay. I like to engage with everybody on the staff. I don't like stovepipe management where I'm just hearing from one or two managers. I like to engage everybody from the bottom up because it's important for me to get a full understanding of what's going on in an organization, and also to make everybody in the organization feel like they're part of the team. So I also usually maintain a very open door policy and maintain open communication, which is really, really important in an organization like this.
Okay. And how would you then say that you want to be able to stay on top of issues, multiple programs, to be able to ensure the goals and the deadlines that you have to reach?
Well, you'll have to implement some sort of management matrix, if you will, where you set goals and for whatever projects you have, the timelines and time frames when things should be done, and you need to monitor those kinds of things. For example, we currently, in my operation, we have a weekly status report everybody has to produce, providing me weekly status of where they are in the projects, what impediments are they having to get the work done, and keeping me fully informed at all times at the various stages of the project. And then that way I can identify any issues that we need to resolve and keep the projects on track. But you have to be constantly maintaining some sort of, you have to set up some sort of a matrix of some sort to keep track of everything.
Thank you.
Here's I'm sorry. I hear a phone going off. If anyone has. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody told us.
It would go off in here, too. Yeah.
Somebody said. All right. So we're going to pause for you just a moment to make
Okay.
sure we're all safe. Okay. I think it's going to be fine.
Sound like a vibration. So.
It did. For real?
Really? On the wall?
Are you serious? Or you okay? All right. We're good. Thank you.
It's fine. I'll take it. I think it's turned off, but
I'm sorry to cut you, interrupt you.
Let's see, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. One of the big challenges, obviously, for any IG, for anybody responsible for an agency, is funding. And this agency is no differently challenged than others. In fact, if you've looked at some of the things on the website, you can see some issues regarding the number of staff and neat stuff like that. So, and looking at your resume, it reads more to me like execution than the funding side of planning. So, what I'd like to know is, how will you deal with the funding issues of this office if you are a successful candidate?
well, you have to use the resources you've got. If you're not fully funded, you're going to have to prioritize a lot to get to produce the reports and products that you have to do. And so you'll have to prioritize things and look at things not just from the, from budgetary, how big the item, how big the program is, and that. You also have to look at things like, for example, if this were to fail, what would that look like to the public? If it's a safety and security thing, it's not always about the dollars. It's about what the impact it is to the public. You got to worry about. Money's one thing, but there's other types of impact that you got to look at. But nevertheless, with limited budgets, you need to prioritize everything to get the best bang for your buck.
Okay, that's good. Now let's just step away from money altogether. Let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, the media.
Okay.
How much experience, what kind of experience have you had dealing with the media?
Well, I've had a little bit of experience, but I can't say I'm an expert in it. I don't think anybody's an expert at dealing with the media. But as you know, I spoke earlier about my experience with the CPA, the Coalition Provisional Authority. In those days, the Iraq War was very much on the front page of the news, a lot of public interest. And now we drop an IG in the mix to start critiquing and evaluating how well the funds are being used. So we had to engage. We actually engaged a media consultant to help assist us, and not only that, but we also were required statutorily to produce quarterly reports to Congress every quarter. So every quarter, you have the potential that you will have media contacting you, dealing with the information that's in there and wanting to ask questions. So, we came pretty good at knowing when to answer the phone, when you had the answers and that type of thing, but we're very careful. But we did engage a media consultant to help us to make sure that we told the story the way it should be told, and that it was very transparent, and so that everybody could understand all the ins and outs of everything that went on.
Okay. Let's say that you're doing all this right, and the objective, the outcome of your efforts in media, what would be the most desirable outcome?
The most desirable outcome is to show to the public the transparency of the government entity that we're responsible for, whether it be Palm Beach or whatever. That the public knows what government, how government's being run, and they understand how well, or the good, the bad, and ugly of government, and they have a good sense of how their tax dollars are being spent, and they have either good view of government or not. That we're there to provide transparency to the public. We're really the eyes and ears of the public inside the government, and they don't have much of another way to do that other than oversight, outside oversight, like from an IG or something like that. So it's really important. I mean, the public is our customer for the most part. Are they? Mm-hmm. So it's very important that we get it right, and that they get a full accounting of everything that goes on in government. It's their government.
That's true. Thank you.
Sir, would you please describe to us whenever you have had a difficult exchange with the public, what steps did you take and what personal skill sets did you draw upon to resolve the situation?
Difficult exchange with public. That's a tough one. I don't really have a lot of maybe difficulties. I guess years ago, I was also the assistant IG for audit over at the Peace Corps, and we also had a violent crime function there. At one point, that IG was very unusual. We had like rapes and murders, if you will, that we had to be responsible for, provide oversight of. And so occasionally something like that would happen in one of the countries overseas. And of course, something like that would happen, and we'd have to, that's very difficult to explain how could something like that happen to an American overseas, and making sure that everything was done and that the public was well informed of what happened, their families and things like that. So that to me was very difficult to deal with something like that. That's a very difficult issue.
What experience do you have with working with multiple entities? Include examples of the strategies you employed for successful interactions.
Well, as an IG, you're always dealing with multiple entities sometimes, whether it be internally within your department or externally outside your department. Example, I'm currently working at the largest embassy in the world, but that entity includes multiple government agencies. You name it, they're there. And whenever there's an audit or investigation, and I have to say, back up one thing, I'm the only remaining government oversight office there in Iraq right now that's on the ground. Everybody's left since they've contracted the mission. But under Chief of Mission, we're the last oversight entity, and any entities that want to come in and do oversight there, or any even congressionals that come in, things like that, it's up to me a lot of times to coordinate those activities and make sure that the information is, they facilitate the information to everybody, and deal with the security issues of bringing people inside a war zone and things like that. So it's a lot of moving parts to do work over there, and anytime you do any work, you're going to involve everybody from security personnel to you name it. It's across the board. Homeland Security's over there, FBI, Treasury Department's there, Department of Defense is there, and so anytime you do anything, you're dealing with all those agencies. You're not just and me being the only person there as far as my office, that's one of our routine activities that we have to do.
Thank you.
Assuming you had the position of IG for Palm Beach County, we have 41 jurisdictions in Palm Beach County. How would you conduct a risk assessment?
Well, risk assessment, you would have to probably conduct multiple risk assessments, because I assume every municipality probably has their own different sets of records and books and the way they operate. So you need to do a risk assessment based on their vulnerabilities, various vulnerabilities. For example, has there ever been an audit there or investigation there? Have there been issues in the past? The size of the budget, the amount of resources being spent. Then you got to worry about issues like the impact to the public if something isn't operated properly and things like that. But you would have to, almost probably look at every one individually.
Okay. Thank you. What would your annual audit plan focus on?
Again, that would be, audit plan would have to be based on what resources you have, and then you would have to examine what the priorities are for the county, and also the priorities of how much money is being spent on each various programs, the potential for their vulnerability to fraud, waste, abuse, things like that. So it's another kind of risk-based assessment would be used to develop your audit plan, and then you'd have to look at your resources and what you had to achieve that. But it'd be prioritizing everything.
Thank you.
Hello. I have three, I think, short questions. Unique to today's Office of Inspector General is a contract oversight unit which monitors procurement activity from pre-award through post-award. Mm-hmm. How would you allocate OIG staff and/or resources towards procurement activity?
Well, again, it gets back to the dollars, and you get back to how much are you spending on contractual actions in the county. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, though, you have to look at a little bit about the procurement process itself. What's going on with, I don't know if there's one procurement office or multiple procurement offices. You have to be worried about whether things are competitively bid, things like that. You need to determine whether they got the proper cost estimate, whether they did some market studies of things they're procuring, things like that, before they award a contract. And you also have to look at the relationships of the contractors with those that are awarding the contracts. You need to worry about things like that. Then that's the award part, the procurement part. Then you got to worry about the after award, the post award, where you'll have to worry that there is whether the government is getting what they paid for. Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure that whoever is responsible for the contract, the project manager, or what we do call in the federal government the contracting officer's representative, that they are actually managing the contract properly, that they're making sure we're getting what we're supposed to be getting for the contract. And that if they have any responsibility for approving payments, that they're approving the payments properly, and that that we're basically getting what we should be getting.
Okay. How would you approach community outreach in order to ensure that the public is aware and involved in the work of the IG?
Well, I've seen the website that's out there now, and I think it's a great website. I think this website does a lot to inform the public, but I think as far as doing more and more in that area, I think one of the things that makes the federal government IGs a little more out in the public is their annual reports, their quarterly reports, and things like that. And making the public aware that those reports are available, I think, and also engaging the public directly, either going to community-based meetings or other meetings to provide them an insight as to what an IG does, what role they play in government, and to keep them informed on the IG's activities.
All right. Third question. If you are awarded this job, how will you hold yourself accountable to the citizens of Palm Beach County?
Well, the best way is to produce products and to the public, for the public on their behalf. I think the best possible products you possibly can is one way, and the other way is the accountability of most OIGs is done through an outside entity. For example, somebody coming in and doing a peer review, making sure that we're doing what we're doing properly and that we meet the standards, both investigative standards and audit standards, and that we pass the peer review. And I think that's another second set of eyes looking at the independence of our organization. And the other thing, as far as accountability, is our employee performance evaluations and what's expected of us and our employees. I think that's an important thing as well. And also our annual, we used to do a strategic plan explaining, which is more towards the mission of the organization. Are we achieving our mission and our goals for that year? And I think that setting goals and missions up front and then looking back at it at the end of the year to see if we met that, I think is a good thing.
All right, thank you.
So at this time, we have concluded the formal interview questions. I'm sorry. At this time, do you have any questions for us?
Not at this time. I think I'm not going to ask any questions this time.
It's the only opportunity.
No, I think I'm not going to ask any more questions. I've done a lot of research, and I think I pretty much answered a lot of the questions I did have already.
Do we have any follow-up questions by the committee?
You touched on just a few moments ago the importance of the peer review. How are you prepared to deal with peer review credentialing, the Joint Commission on Accreditation, and how would you attack that particular issue? It's a very important one for us to become credentialized.
When I was with the Peace Corps IG's office, when I got there, had I known they didn't have a decent peer review, I would have probably not taken the job. But they had I got there, and the first day I arrived on the job, they handed me the last peer review. I should have asked for that before I took the job, but I didn't think about it at the time. So they handed me the peer review, and I looked at it, and everything was broke. There was nothing there they did right. And they were very close to losing their accreditation. And I've worked in another agency, I'll talk later on, where they did lose their accreditation. But this one, so I immediately went through and systematically went through and looked at the processes that they were employing to do all their work, both the audits, investigative side, and their evaluation side. Went through and realized that for one thing they weren't doing, for example, on the audit side, was preparing work papers properly. They had an old stubby pencil system where they were doing all the work papers, stubby pencil, and the profession is far beyond that right now. I mean, everything now is automated, so I immediately took action to try to get them automated and bring them into the 20th century. And that solved a lot of our peer review problems on the audit side. And the investigative side, the same thing. We went through there systematically to take a look at how they do their work, how they document it, and make sure that we established policies and procedures for them and make sure that everything was, that they were following them. And that's across the board. You got to establish good policy procedures internally and make sure that everybody complies with it. And the best way to do that nowadays is with automation. It ensures, because with automation nowadays, it ensures that you're, as a supervisor, it tracks how many times you review the work, you can actually see when you approved it, all that sort of stuff. You know, there's no excuse nowadays for not getting into the automation area and improving and ensuring that you meet standards.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else has a question? Yes.
I do. I have two questions. Do you have any experience dealing with municipalities or counties or elected officials?
Not dealing with municipalities or counties, but I do have, you know, some experience dealing with elected officials. I used to be a Senate staffer, as you know, so I worked on the Hill for a couple years, so I know dealing with elected officials. And in my job now overseas, of course, I see a lot of congressmen and senators and the like come through the embassy compound on their way to other parts of the world, or to come and visit and get an understanding of what the situation is in the Middle East there. So I do have some experience dealing with elected officials. I also have deal a lot with foreign government officials. I'm the subject matter expert in Iraq for IGs. The United States back in 2004 actually implemented an IG system for the government of Iraq, believe it or not. And so I serve as the kind of the subject matter expert. I interact a lot with the government of Iraq and the IG community there, who are struggling very much like the IG here, if you will, with funding and resources and trying to understand things that are foreign to them, if you will. The whole concept of having transparency within a government, new government, is very, very foreign to them. It's something that they're struggling with, but they're making some progress. So yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with that type of thing.
And my second question was, other than maybe being ready to leave Iraq, is there anything else about this particular job that interests you or brings you here?
Well, if you look at my my resume, I've always taken on what I consider to be jobs that maintain that's a challenge for me. You know, the job when I was on the Hill, for example, it was, I don't know if you all recall the Iran-Contra affair in those days like that. Well, it was at a time when Congress, the Senate, for example, didn't have any authority, not authority, but didn't have a capability to do oversight inside the intel community. And so, you know, I went up there, I was nominated, and I took that challenge and set up an auto investigative staff for the Senate side. And then as time went on, and that was pretty successful at the time. As time went on, I took on another challenge. I took on the CPA IG and stood that one up and helped stand that one up. And I thought it was a great experience. It was very challenging. And I think if you look back, it's been a very successful organization. So, I mean, I guess my next thing is, after being in Iraq the last 4 years and actually spent 5 years total of my life there, I'm anxious to get back to a normal domestic life somewhere in the world. And I'm also want to continue in a place where I feel it could be challenging, and also where I can contribute to, you know, better government, good governance.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Amberg.
Thank you. Thank you. My question is to follow up with something you said earlier when I asked about the independence of the Inspector General. You said that you would put your staff through strong ethics training.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, it's part of your auditing standards and also investigative standards that you should have annual ethics training. And the federal government, we all undergo annual ethics training every year, you know, to go back and reaffirm and refresh our memories as to what is ethical and what's not ethical, and what things may be a problem for you ethically if you engage in this type of activity or that activity. It's very important.
How long does that take?
Usually, the first ethics training I think I took was like a day-long training, and then thereafter it's like every year you do an online thing. But it's you know, but it's a very good refresher training.
And for everyone in the office?
Everybody has to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very important because, you know, you have to constantly refresh everybody's memory, you know, that you can't engage in this kind of activity. Maybe maybe you're auditing a contractor, but at the same time you're thinking, hey, I'd like to work for this guy, you know, those kinds of things. You want to continually reinforce that among your people.
Yeah. Madam Chair, I was just wondering if what we do now, if that happens now, maybe it's a question for the IG, for IG Steckler, maybe she can respond to that.
Well, actually, the Commission of Ethics, they have it required now, so every 2 years, I believe. My office is actually doing it every year, plus we have, through accreditation, we have a statement that we attest to every year, as well as every case and audit we do, we attest to our independence.
So for everyone in the office goes through ethics training?
Yeah, but it's online right now through the Commission of Ethics.
Yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Cardell?
Mr. Montoya, you mentioned a strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you've been around, and I've been around, and we've seen what happens to most strategic plans.
Right.
What is the single most common disconnect between the strategic plan and execution that you found? And in this environment, what would you do to mitigate that?
Well, I think the most biggest disconnect is that the strategic plan sometimes is not really attainable. That it's not, it's pie in the sky, and I think people need to, whoever prepares that, they need to have a reality check sometimes and make sure that whatever mission or whatever their plan goals are going to be attainable. There's no sense in setting goals so far ahead that you don't have the resources or the capability to do that. Mm-hmm. They're really more intended to be something that's executable. It's not intended to be some kind of fancy document that talks real flowery about how wonderful everything's going to be if we do this. You know, they're really intended to be more of try to keep people focused on the goal and move forward and keep the program on track.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, considering the fact that you have very little experience dealing with elected officials, I think that question was asked, and not a whole lot of experience in dealing with exchanges with the public where there is a problem, an issue that you have to resolve. If you are selected, how would you interact with the members of the heads of the municipalities here, the heads of government, and the citizens in terms of, as you say, considering the impact of this office if it should fail? How would you interact with them to convince them that this office should not fail?
Well, I think it's, if I understand your question, I think you're asking me how I would go and sell my office to these organizations. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think it's important to engage these managers directly and explain to them, of course, you know, the roles of the IG. I bet by now they've already realized what the role of the IG is now, but to get them to understand that the importance of the IG is not just it's not a gotcha thing necessarily. It's also how do we help improve the way you do business, and how do we improve the way you serve the people that you serve. and making sure that the public is getting their, what they're paying for, and that the services you're providing are achieving everything that you want them to achieve, and that the public is getting what they're paying for. So I think if I were a manager in one of these municipalities, I'd actually welcome an IG to come in and take a look at the way I do business and look for ways for me to improve it, because it's only going to help me. It's not, it's not there to prevent me from doing anything better, prevent me from doing anything wrong. It's more, and prevent me from doing my job. It's more of also help me improve my management of this activity, whatever it is.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions?
How long have you been with the federal government?
Oh, a long time. I came over on the Mayflower. No, I didn't.
You ready to retire?
No.
You ready to retire?
No, I'm not ready to retire. I could retire, but I'm not ready to retire.
But would this be a retirement job for you?
No, this is not a retirement job, because this job is not for somebody who wants to be retired. I'll put it that way. This is a very hard job. If I wanted to be retired, I would take a job at, Walmart or someplace like that. But this is not a job for somebody who wants to retire. This is not a come to get a free trip to Florida and move my family here and then retire. It's not that kind of thing for me. I'm more interested, like I said, of continuing a work of trying to make a difference somewhere in the world. I think my resume says that. I was looking for a way to make a difference somewhere in the world and utilize my skills and my abilities. But no, it's not a retirement job for me. I can think of a better job to retire, maybe on a fishing boat or something somewhere.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the dais? Okay. You done? Okay.
No questions.
All right. Hearing none, it's time now for you to give us your presentation of why you think that you deserve to have this position.
Well, first of all, I want to thank members of the panel here. I'm very honored that I was even considered to be on the list to be interviewed. So that in itself, I think, is a great accomplishment, whoever you select. I think my long career in the IG community, in the last many years, I've seen the IGs evolve. Many of these IGs that you see today were in many respects the same as the IGs, the new IG here in Palm Beach County. So I've seen how things have evolved over the years, and have suddenly now all of them are much more part of the mainstream as far as providing oversight within their various government agencies, and they've gained respect. This is the thing about the IGs over the years. It was early on, back in the in the 80s. Many of the IGs in the federal government, they were slowly rolled out over the years. It wasn't just one day everybody had an IG. They've been rolled out over the years. So this has been a rolling thing, and it's been an interesting process over the years to see how many of these how these growing pains, similar to what's going on here in Palm Beach County, how the growing pains has suddenly after a couple of years become part of the solution and not part of the problem over the years. So that's the thing. You want the IGs to be part of the solution, improving how well government works and how well they're working, how well the citizens of Palm Beach County can be proud of their county government, and how much the IGs can be their insight into how government works and be an advocate for the citizens, and I think is extremely important. So I think I have been able to see that evolved over the years as the IGs have become implemented throughout the federal government. So what you're seeing right now, again, in Palm Beach is nothing I haven't seen already, and look forward to, hopefully, that I can come and bring whatever expertise I have learned over the years to help continue this legacy that's begun here in Palm Beach County to improve on the great work that was done by the previous IG, and continue the process of providing great oversight for the citizens of Palm Beach County. And I think it's a beautiful place, and I think they deserve everything. They deserve a great government and a strong advocate for the people.
Thank you so very much for coming and for submitting your application for candidacy for the position. And have a great day.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
At this time, I believe our agenda indicates that we have a very brief break of 15 minutes. We are now in recess. We intend to return in 15 minutes.